Hi, I'm Amber, and 3 years ago I decided to go vegan. And although it can be a very hard transition, especially if you go from having everything in your diet to really limiting yourself, it wasn't so bad for me. And it's not that I'm special or I did anything spectacular. It's because I followed these 7 tips that I'm about to give y'all right now. My number 1 pro tip is to start the transition slowly. I think going cold turkey and jumping straight into it is one of the worst things you can do for yourself, because you'll still have the same cravings that you were just having 2 days ago before you started trying to go vegan. You'll probably cheat a lot too. So for me, I started off with like no meat Monday, something like that, but still having meat in my diet. Eventually I moved to being pescatarian. I was like in a stage where I was still like allowing my body to have whatever it wanted to have. So I actually coined myself as Ambertarian, because people would ask me and I'm just like, I'm Ambertarian. I'm just doing whatever I want to do with my diet. That worked for me, but eventually I wanted to transition from pescatarian. I was like, I'm having a lot of acne. Let's see if limiting my dairy will help. So I started cutting back on dairy, and that just snowballed until I eventually like realized that I was like having a strictly vegan diet, even though I didn't intend to. But because I went slowly, I allowed myself to like have the cravings that I wanted. And after, I was just like, oh, I actually didn't really need that piece of pizza. Like, I'm good next time. It really helped me, and I would suggest y'all to do the same. My second tip is to do your research and make sure you're planning ahead, especially at the start of your transition. You want to know what meals you're going to eat and when, whether that's like packing snacks on the go, do that your lunch and bringing it with you. You just want to have a plan, even with like researching restaurants before you go to them with your friends, to make sure that you can actually eat there, things like that. I went on a trip at the beginning of my transition. When I tell y'all I starved, I basically starved, because everywhere we went they had nothing for me and I didn't know what I could eat. So I was just like, I'm gonna just have fries, and that's just gonna be that. You want to make sure that you have a plan, make sure you know what you're gonna eat, do your research so that you don't end up having to eat something that you didn't necessarily want to eat or plan to eat just because that's all that's available. Tip number 3 also goes along with planning, but you want to make sure you have vegan staples on hand in your kitchen at all times. I would suggest having some sort of protein pasta, some whole grain sources, some snacks that you like. It could be chips, a vegan ice cream, whatever you need. Also, frozen fruits are really good. Some sort of green leafy vegetable source, also really good. Just want to have all of these things on hand and be able to cook, because honestly, if you're a vegan that only eats out, then are you really vegan? Like, you need to be able to cook in your own home and make sure, like, regardless of what's going on outside, what's going on at the stores, that you can feed yourself. I would definitely stock up on vegan staples as soon as possible. Tip number 4 is to really just have fun with being vegan. It's a new adventure. You're learning something completely different, incorporating stuff that you probably never had in your diet regularly. So just have fun with it. I used to do a lot of restaurant imitations for fun. So there's like a Five Guys mushroom burger that I like to make. There's a meatball marinara sub that I really like from a vegan restaurant. Also like a Chipotle bowl. Just anything that keeps it interesting and makes you excited about getting in the kitchen. Tip number 5, along with experimenting and having fun with your food, you also want to hammer down on the few meals that you can make at any time that you love and that are always on hand. So for me, I love making this yogurt taffy apple bowl that I first got off like Instagram. It's so filling. I literally can have it anytime because I'm always craving it. It can go for my breakfast, my lunch, or my dinner. So it's the perfect go-to meal for me. I would encourage y'all to hammer down whatever go-to meal works for you. What are you gonna want to eat at any time? What can you throw into your day that works? Have that on hand, have that in your pantry. Always have something set that you can turn to if you're starving and just need food. Tip number 6 also goes along with having that one meal on hand, because as you transition to being vegan, you're gonna be hungry, very, very hungry. When you're eating meat and dairy, those types of foods really sit on your stomach and make you feel full for a lot longer. They weigh you down. But when you're eating a lot more clean, your body will rejuvenate itself faster and be like, okay, where's the next meal? Because you're eating a lot less dense foods, less dense in calories, etc. So you're gonna be hungry a lot. You want to be able to satisfy your hunger. Don't starve yourself. Don't think you're eating too much. You're not. Your body is it's just getting used to this change that you're all of a sudden throwing its way, make sure you eat when you're hungry, and also just make sure you have that go-to meal that you can throw in at any time. My last and seventh tip is probably the most important of them all, but it's about just being kind to yourself, giving yourself grace as you're going through this transition, and not getting caught up in like the rules and regulations about being vegan. Like, honestly, who cares? This is your journey. This is all about you. A lot of people will butt in and be like, oh, never mind, you can't eat that and things like that. But I like to train myself, and I also tell the people around me, not like in a rude way or anything, but it's like, oh, I could eat that, I just choose not to. Like, I don't want to eat that, I don't want that to be a part of my diet, and that's why I'm refraining. It's not about like restricting myself and cutting myself off from things that I used to have. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just a different mindset that I go into it with, and that's really helped me, like I said in the beginning, with just taking my time in veganism, figuring out that it's not that I can't have these foods because of this vegan regimen, it's that I don't want these foods for my body, for the health that I want, etc. So be kind to yourself. Don't get caught up in these vegan rules. If you want honey, eat honey. Not that big of a deal. If you want cheese, sometimes do what you gotta do. It's all up to you. But yeah, guys, those are my 7 tips into transitioning into being vegan. Comment any questions you have for me down below, and if y'all want to hear more about my journey into veganism, let us know in the comments. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Why not? I just gave you 7 great tips about being vegan. Subscribe. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. But it's over now.